Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Ask Jonathan. We're going to jump right into this week's question. And I apologize, I actually forgot the user's name. However, it'll be in the description bar if you're there. I apologize for not getting your name there. It's actually a really good question. I've had something similar asked before. There's a couple parts to it, but yeah, so the first part of the question is, so the main thing I find, which is common, is that people become great when they meet great teachers or people. How do you expand your horizons and find these people? I'm like a fish in a pond yet to see the ocean, and it's suffocating when you realize it. Real good question. I think a lot of us, in the previous video I believe it was, I talked about how I met that artist that happened to work at Marvel. And something like that, honestly, is probably like once in a lifetime if you're lucky. And I'm very fortunate that I was able to have that happen to me. However, that doesn't mean that if you don't know somebody that's, in the business or whatever, that you can't grasp things from other people. Now, without trying to sound conceited or making it sound elitist or anything in like an art, sense, if you're an artist and you know other artists, watch how they draw. I don't know how, before I jump too far ahead, I think there's two types of learning that you can do. One would be visually seeing it done, and then sort of memorizing it in a way that you can do it. A perfect example is, I guess she'd be my niece, my cousin's daughter there. Basically, she was down for the weekend, and she wanted to see how I drew. And there was this one part that I was drawing a face, and she said something that kind of, it made me smile and think, this is actually pretty true. I don't know how you guys and girls draw, but I prefer to it might look like scribbling to people that don't really, again, it's going to sound bad, but people that don't really know how to draw in a way where it's, you don't necessarily have to draw precise lines right away. As you learn to draw, you appreciate being sloppy and scribbling and just throwing lines down on the paper, right? And then eventually you can, once you become comfortable with it, you can start doing those gestures minimally and lightly. And then eventually, once you want to get right into the nitty-gritty, you can just jump in there and start picking out the lines you want for those precise lines. So, to see somebody do that, and you might not work like that, it might look like scribbles. Anyway, she was saying, oh, I see, so it's easy. All you have to do is scribble. And she couldn't be more right. Freeing yourself from having everything look awesome from the get-go, and just going, screw it, I'm just going to start throwing lines down, and it might not work, doesn't matter. It's that loose, that drawing could get thrown away, and it might be a client's piece of work that you're working on, but it doesn't matter. That energy and getting those lines down breaks you out of the walls, it starts freeing you out. So when she was saying things like, oh, you just need to scribble, what she saw there through me, whether she'll remember it or not, I'm not sure, but I know I did the exact same thing when I saw that person from Marvel work, where it was, you see them work in a way where it changes your whole thought process on how you can work. Or you might see somebody work and go, they're adding too much steps, or they're taking too long a certain way, but once you start to realize how you like to work, you can see it, and then you can start picking and choosing from other artists and other people the way they work. And then obviously the other way of learning is, grabbing an anatomy book or something and reading the instruction, following the exercises and go. Myself, I'm visual, and I said it before in that last video, the amount of knowledge I learned from just watching that guy draw for an hour changed everything about how I drew. So to answer your question, eventually, I guess you want to become great, a lofty goal, and I hope you do. But how do you become great if you're not surrounded by, whatever great art to you is? And this is kind of going back to the beginning when I said I don't want to sound too conceited, but if you're just getting into drawing, or you're kind of plateauing at a certain level and you just can't break it, hopefully you at least have somebody around that draws. Worse than you, better than you, doesn't matter. And just kind of watch what they do. If you don't have anybody, you're fortunate to live in the time of YouTube, you're watching this, you can see people draw, and hopefully there's a few other people that are doing things like that I'm doing, where it's tutorials online, and they're kind of talking about what they're thinking about when they're drawing. And that might be the only way you can do it. If you can, and this might be a little more expensive, but hopefully there's like a comic book convention around you. And if there is, maybe spend the money and go, and maybe bring a camera with you. It might sound weird, but bring a camera, and all you need to do, whether you buy anything, doesn't matter, is just go around to people that are drawing,
and have your little smartphone on you or whatever you got, and just ask them, is it okay if I record you drawing that sketch? And they might say, no, I don't like people drawing over my shoulder or looking over my shoulder while I draw. And, you can be respectful, but in that case, you can just look. You don't have to record, right? And the reason I'm saying record is once you're done at the show and you go back home, you got that stored. You can re-look at it, keep going at it. And the best part about that is try to redraw what they're doing, how they're doing it, and why they're doing it. Learn it. And what's going to happen is eventually you're going to get better. You're going to break that plateau. And then you're going to start to get yourself into other circles. And this is where I said I don't want to sound elitist, because unfortunately, let's be honest for a second here. If you're a working professional, meaning, I don't know, you literally draw to work. Your paycheck comes from you drawing. You need to be drawing all the time, right? So it's hard to make time for a newbie, a guy or a girl that just picked up a pencil and like, I love comics or I love concept art. I want to know how to draw. It's hard to give time to somebody you potentially don't know, might be a fan or someone that appreciates your art. Not in a negative way, but it's hard to devote time to teach that person how to draw when you need to draw to make your family or yourself, put some money in the bank or pay off loans or whatever you got. But as you get better, you start to surround yourself again with that circle of other people that are like you. So now you might be able to be not just an attendee at a convention. You might actually be a guest of honor. You might be somebody that's there. You might be sitting next to Jim Lee. You might be sitting next to, I don't know, some independent artist that's on the scene, or a fan that you like. So you just go through there, and if you can, you can ask questions that you might not have been able to ask as a generic fan. And I know that sounds really weird. I've actually done this myself. Again, not to sound, I always keep backing up saying I don't want to sound conceited, because I always feel like it does. I remember back in the day when I was, there's a forum, some of you people might have heard of it, I doubt it, but, if you're watching it, it was called Eat Poo. And it was an art forum that I stumbled on, and there was a lot of awesome people that would come from that site. And I used to post art all the time on there. And when I look at it now, yeah, there's things I liked about it, but it's trash, right? Compared to what I can do now for myself. And I would look at it, and some people would give feedback, some wouldn't, and the questions that I had at the time, nobody was really answering. And to get through that, I just took it on myself to go to the library and just start trying to surround myself with new content. If you keep looking at the same stuff, you're only going to get the same stuff. You got to break out of the prison you're giving yourself, Look at manga, even if you hate schoolgirl drama mangas or whatever. I don't know. Just go to the library, so you don't have to pay for it. You just read it. Just read it. That's all you have to do. Just read it. And you might go, okay, I knew this was trash picking it up, and it's trash going back. Doesn't matter. It's new stuff that your brain can process and think about. Maybe you're now going to introduce speed lines. I don't know. Maybe you look at one, what was it one called? Berserker, I think it's called, or something. That guy draws really awesome anatomy. He's really sharp noses. You might not like the face, but the bodies, you like the way they draw. Or like Capcom or like Street Fighter and stuff. You might like that. The big muscle guys and stuff. Like, I love that stuff. So you look at this stuff and you start to bring it into things. And you start to, now I'm getting into developing a style and stuff, but hopefully I answered your question about how you can become great, whatever that means, and getting, how did you word it? I'm like a fish in a pond yet to see the ocean. And it's suffocating when you realize it. I'm just going to flip that on you. You are a fish in the ocean. You're not in a pond. You're in an ocean that's surrounded by other people that are trying to be the big great white shark, right? And how do you become a little minnow and become that great white shark? Nobody knows. All you can do is just swim in that ocean. Keep seeing what other people are doing. Learn from what they're doing. Ask what they're doing. And eventually you'll get those answers. Just don't lose focus. Just, no matter how, again, I'm going to start drifting down that positive, Tony Robbins, all that good stuff. But just believe in yourself. Keep working hard. Don't take crap from anybody. Don't make stupid choices, but you got to make those mistakes. You got to learn. Just keep growing. Just do your best to continually learn. And unfortunately, these might mean things like, okay, now your Friday nights that you used to hang out with your friends and stuff, going to the bar or whatever you want to play video games, maybe now it's just you. And you might lose friends. I know I've lost friends to this stuff. And you got to look into yourself and what do you want from art? What do you want from doing what you're doing? If you want to become that great white shark, how many times do great white sharks go to parties? Terrible analogy, but we're going to move on. Okay, so the last part here, I think, was what do you do for money? Rather, how do you do it? You never actually hear what type of job people... What? Sorry about this. You never actually hear what type of job people do to get where they are. You just hear they work hard, and that's especially when fresh out of high school and college. Okay, so, very quickly, I mean, this could be another thing altogether. I work 2 retail jobs. One's at a dollar store, and the other one's at a video game store. If any of those people are actually watching, hi. I hate going there. To me, I always call it the Galactus. And if you guys aren't familiar with Marvel Comics or anything like that, Galactus is the world eater. He goes to planets and he eats the energy. You know, that's what he does. He's always hungry. I like to relate that to day jobs. I mean, let's be honest. I put stock out. I sell product to people. My job is meaningless. Anybody else can do it. And if, again, any of the people, my coworkers are watching, this isn't an attack against anybody or a judgment call. You might have been forced in that situation. You know, you got to do what you got to do to make ends meet. But my creative friends out there that like to do art, comics especially, you know what I'm talking about. You wake up as best as you can to do the comic book work. And you got to go to Galactus. And Galactus steals your soul. And then you come back home and, how do I pump more energy back into sitting back down and hammering out until like 2 in the morning and getting back up at whatever time to go back there. That's a tug-of-war battle, you know? So I like to call it Galactus, make a little bit of a joke out of it. But honestly, I hate those jobs. Unlike any of you out there that have that job, you don't want to be there. You want to draw for a living. You want to write for a living. You want to color. You want to create. It's as simple as that. I want to create for a living. And creating stock onto a shelf, for me, I mean, again, you got to do what you got to do, but that's why, for myself, that's why I'm doing all these videos and stuff, is to help you guys out. It also helps me, it motivates me to get content going, to get discussion going, to start meeting new people in a way that I can't necessarily do if I'm stuck here. Whatever the hell that means. Now, other than that, I do get hired to do comic book work mostly. I have done covers for independent titles and things. I have done some concept art for, I was hired to do this stuff, like a subcontract for, I think it was Turok, for Xbox 360, something I don't really know what I did was actually put in the game. I have no idea. But that's all from posting online, people seeing my stuff and going, hey, are you available for work? You get a little discussion going back and forth. I give them a figure, or they give me a figure, go back and forth. Contracts might be signed, non-disclosure agreements, all that good stuff. But that's the meat and potatoes stuff that I like. That gets me turned on to keep going to get the next stuff, not the day job stuff, right? So I think that answers your question. And especially when you're fresh out of high school or college, I know tons of people that have graduated from art schools that are waiting tables. They work at a factory. They deliver mail. They put stock on a shelf. Don't be ashamed of it. Just use it as a tool. And a good friend of mine, Cannon White, how you doing, Cannon, again? He gave me some really awesome advice. Not really advice, but it was the way he worded it that made it, really cool. These day jobs that you have, that's your job. It's not your career. Your career is what you're doing outside of your job to make it a career, to make it actually happen. Maybe in another video, if you guys are interested, I can talk about some of the motivational techniques that I give myself to kind of get that energy back. Some of it works, some of it doesn't, but let me know if you guys want to talk about that. I'm going to shut up. Thank you so much for watching. Again, leave any comments or questions in the comment bar below. I'll get to them in next week's video. So yeah, take care. Keep reading comics. Keep making comics. Keep sending the questions. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.